heard what sounded like a train coming up the canyon, but there were no train tracks, and it was such a rough road, a car could not have come up that fast. So we looked and saw that a small tornado was coming right at us. So everybody dove, and the tornado just went right through camp. No one was hurt. Some chairs and tents were turned topsy-turvy, but no people were hurt. I went on up into the canyon to where some of the vision questers were still at their sites to make sure they were okay, and everyone was. And one of the people told me, who had stayed down by the fire, that after the tornado came through, Bearheart walked out of the cabin where he was staying, and he looked around, saw the disarray, and determined everyone was all right, and he said, "The wind is my mother. Everything's clean now."
Wow. So this is where you got the title from the book? Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
But also, he always said that because his mother was of the Wind clan of his tribe, and his father was of the Bear clan. So he always said, "The wind is my mother and the bear is my father."
You know what, when you just said that is so beautiful. His mother was from the Wind clan.
Yes.
And his father was from the Bear clan. Can you explain to those of us who we may have some familiarity with traditional Native Americans? Now, I know that some people say they don't like the term Native American. Some like to hear indigenous people. So I'm not trying to insult anyone. But can you go a little bit deeper into that whole aspect, like his mother coming from the Wind clan? What exactly is that? And his father coming from the Bear clan? Like, do you know the history behind that?
Yeah, somewhat. One of the things about clans in Native American tribes is that the people who are born into a given clan, such as his mother being of the Wind clan, it means that those people have a special relationship with the wind.
Oh, wow.
They might, through prayer and intention and ceremony, be able to call in the wind for particular purposes. There's a teaching about the wind that it can carry away our grief. And so people who are of the Wind clan will have a relationship with the wind and have an understanding of it and can communicate with it and call upon it. Not only could they call upon it to bring it in, but they might be able to call upon it to have it calm down and tone down and not cause damage if it's building up so much that there's a big storm or even a tornado coming. If you're from the Bear clan, it means you have a special relationship with bears, and you would actually have some of those qualities of great strength and yet great gentleness, and maybe being very quiet and introspective in the winter at that hibernation time. So there's actually a story in the book about how thousands of years ago there was a time of darkness descended on the earth, and people were wandering around and didn't know where to go, so they were just sort of wandering around in the dark. And when the darkness finally lifted, some people found that they were gathering around with some deer, and other people were hanging out with bears, and other people were hanging out with eagles. And that was the origin of the clans. When the darkness lifted, whatever animal nation you were with, you became that clan, and they became your teachers, because animals are our teachers, too.
You know, that's so interesting when you mentioned the deer, because I live in an area here called Rosewood, and there are paved streets and houses and stuff. And so last night, when I was leaving the show, I'm coming down the road, and all of a sudden I see this thing crossing the road. And I'm like, what is that? Okay, it's way too tall to be a dog. Okay, and then when I get closer, I realize that it's a deer. And I've been living here in this area now for about 15 years, and I have never seen a deer.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's so interesting. And like you, I believe that animals give us messages and they're symbolic of something much more deeper. So when you said the deer, I automatically thought about that deer that I saw last night, and here I am talking to you today. So that's interesting. You know what? I love that about his mother, being a part of the Wind Clan, and then the wind coming through that camp while you guys were doing the Vision Quest, and what you were saying, how the wind can carry away your grief or your pain, and for him to come out and say, it's clean now. And that, the wind is my mother. So it's like my mom knew this, okay? And now this energy has been cleared out. So now we can proceed on with our Vision Quest. That's just so beautiful.
Exactly.
So I want to get into some of the things that you say you believe in, Molly. So we're gonna have a good time tonight, okay?
Great.
Let me give out the telephone number for anyone who might want to call in and ask you a question. That telephone number is 748-9293, 748-9293. Of course, that's area code 803. And I have on the line with me Molly Larkin, who is the author or co-author of an autobiography of Marcellus Williams, whose spiritual name is Bearheart. And the name of the book is The Wind is My Mother, The Life and Teachings of a Native American Shaman. You know what? I wanted to ask you a question, but I want to ask you one more thing before I get into some of the things that you believe. Because when I was looking at the site and looking at what you believe contributes to life and balance, I really want to get into these things with you, some of the quotes that you have here. But with the Native American shaman, I used to own a bookstore that represented all types of spiritual paths. And of course, there was a section on shamanism. And it used to always bother me when I would see people come in and tell me that they were shamans, and I'm looking at them like, really? I thought it was insulting. Okay. I don't know why I felt like that. And then I tell you, there was this man, I don't know where he came from and I don't know where he's going. And he told me what tribe he was from. And he had on all of the traditional clothing, and he said something told him to come into my store. And he came in and we talked for about 4 hours. And he was telling me that in a past life that I belonged to he felt that I belonged to the Sioux tribe. And I didn't know anything about that. But in the conversation, I was expressing to him why I don't understand why I feel offended if someone else says that they're a shaman, and there's something in me that's like, no, you're not. So when we started talking, he was like, that part of my energy or that part of another life that I experienced was probably that, because I was telling him about some dreams and stuff that I had that involved Native Americans. And he gave me this stone with all these etchings on it and told me to be well. And I never, ever saw him again. Okay. It's like the wind brought him in and the wind took him out. And so I want to ask you, oh yeah, I'm just thinking the wind is my mother. So I want to ask you, did you, or how did Bearheart feel knowing everything that the indigenous people of this land suffered through, only to see some people kind of masquerade with some of the most traditional spiritual values of these different Native American groups? Did he feel any kind of way about that? Did he ever talk about that? Or did he just feel like that's just life?
He did talk about it, and he didn't like it. I don't like it. Well, first of all, about the subtitle of the book, Native Americans don't have shaman.
Okay.
It's a term that the publisher insisted on, and when you're getting a book published by a major publisher, you have to pick your battles.
Right.
So, they didn't want to include the chapter on the Native American Church, which is using peyote as a medicine to heal. And I really wanted it in there, so I fought hard to keep that, and what I had to give up was them wanting Native American shaman as a term, because Native Americans don't use the term shaman.
So
but anyway.
So I didn't know that. So shaman is not even a term used by Native Americans.
No, it's not. Shaman usually come from actually the area of Russia in
That's right.
Asia.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But whether someone calls themselves a shaman or a medicine person, Bearhart studied with his teachers for 16 years. So I've always been very uncomfortable with people who call themselves medicine people or shaman who have taken a few workshops.